I don't know about yous, but I feel like the vibe's a little off. Hey, this is a tournament. I'm not trying to put you to sleep or yap today. Let's fix this up a little bit, why don't we? That's better. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome to probably my first tournament cast as Sylen here. Going to be a very, very awesome day. Of course, we just had, just earlier yesterday, actually. Hello, good to see us. But we just had yesterday an Illuvium patch come on out, which not only changed up the game a little bit in terms of the gameplay itself, but it now also allows us to have spectators so we can hop into tournaments. And one of the tournaments that we're going to be doing right here, right now, one I've been following for easily over a couple of months now. Of course, hello and welcome everybody. My name is Sylen, and I am looking forward to casting some Illuvium here for you tonight in the Dreamers Esports Illuvium Arena tournament. Of course, these are just free to enter tournaments that happen twice a week, if I do recall correctly. Tuesday, Friday, if I do recall correctly. And they have their own little platform, their own little ladder of sorts to compete for ILV. Yes, there is a Web3 crypto portion of it. I won't get into it too much, but it is still pretty exciting and pretty fun, of course. Of course, Illuvium, for anybody who is not aware, this is currently a free-to-play game that does have Web3 elements, but the Web3 portion is not actually needed to play the game. It's just an extra for stuff later on down the road if you want to take it more serious in terms of cosmetics, and then maybe some other game modes for things down the road. For Illuvium Arena, you don't need a thing. Just your computer, and eventually, your phone. With the way that I'm talking now, it might sound like I am sponsored by either the event organizer or the game itself, and nope, neither are true. I am not sponsored by anybody, or whether it be the tournament organizers themselves. I'm not a part of Dreamers Esports, and in regards to Illuvium itself, I'm not sponsored either. I just enjoy the game. Funny enough, how I actually discovered it was through an advertisement at least 3 years ago on an M&J TV Pokemon video. He later after that had to go on and apologize because apparently so many people were angry at the fact that this advertisement happened. I am so happy it happened because that's how I discovered Illuvium, discovered Web3 as a whole, to be honest. Granted, I don't dive into that part of it too much, but the idea of a creature capture game then turning into a TFT-style battle arena excites me greatly, and I can look forward to casting this matchup with you tonight. Got 3 rounds here. We've got the starting off round with the semifinals and the grand finals. Gonna be doing them back to back to back in just a short period of time. Just getting the last couple of things situated. Now, of course, the tournament itself happened a little bit ago, maybe about 2-3 hours ago is when the thing actually started. However, I was playing around with the new spectator system and trying to figure out like how strong is it? Is it buggy? Is it worth streaming and whatnot? And I'll be very, very up forth with the fact that while there are a couple of bugs here and there, I'm sure you'll see them and hear me struggle with them a little bit. It's actually in a pretty good state, so that's why I'm doing the stream here tonight. Definitely couldn't have come at a better time personally, as I was looking for something to secure for today's stream, and this is a fantastic way to do so. I'm very, very thankful to be able to do this, and I'm very, very thankful as well for the TO staff of Dreamers Esports for letting me hop into that spectator spot without any issue. But without further ado, let's kill the music. And let's get into our first matchup of the day. Now, with the way this tournament was set up, basically, the top 4 players of each game move on to the next round. So you may notice for these first couple of rounds, as soon as we get to the top 4, the game stops. That's not a bug, that's just us getting into the next round, trying not to hold up the tournament any longer than we have to. So that will be a thing, but everybody's fighting for that top 4. But off the start, there are only 5 players in round number 1, so we're going to get warmed up here following 5 players in this one. Granted, there are also 3 AI characters as well, or NPCs, to go into round number 1 as well. Just enough to throw a little mix, but I'll make sure to do my best to point out who's an actual player and who is an NPC. But without further ado, let us get into game number 1 here of this tournament. Let's see, am I in the way? Kind of hopping in as they just finish up the NPC rounds. Looks like I am a little bigger than expected, so let's shrink a bit. There we go. This shouldn't be a problem. So, of course, this was match 1 of the tournament, and the players that we will be following is going to be Mujiwara, Yami Yugi, Motorstormer, Nareba out of Team OLA, and I believe we do actually manage to see Mujiwara right here, right now, to start things off. Magneto is a NPC, but we will kind of go through the motions here of these first couple of rounds just to get the gist of how the battle is going to be. One thing I do know for sure is that my graphically, I am a little fuzzy. That is not you. That is on my end. It improves over time, I promise you that. Yeah, just because they're NPCs doesn't mean they can't put some hurt on you. So Mujiwara going to be taking some damage early on, but granted, because it's early on in the game, don't really have to worry about it too much here. Kraken I believe, is also an NPC, but here is another one of our players that we could be following throughout this match, Nefer. And one of the big things that did just come in this patch, see myself kind of floating around testing things out. We got some skins implemented, but you may notice down on the bottom left-hand side of that arena, we actually have, as the Pokemon people would call it, shinies, as we call it here in Illuvium, hollows and dark hollows. And those things are rather difficult to find, especially the dark hollows. So now that they actually show up here in the game, it's that extra flashy little bit of style points for those creature collectors out there. This next round here against the NPC, Magneto looking to try and get their second one. The NPC that should be able to do it, really giving our players a little bit of a hard time off the start here. Granted, that Lynx and the Gorilla does manage to do some pretty decent damage, so catching 2 of our players out of for hurts, but at the same time, I guess that NPC did level up to 5 extremely quickly, so fair enough there. Now we could have ourselves a matchup of player versus player here. So Nefer up against Nareba. And one thing I do have to mention when I had seen this lot be here, because this is our first time covering Dreamers Esports matches or their ladder rather, here on stream. But I did take a peek at their actual ladder that bounces between Illuvium and Teamfight Tactics. And this lobby right here, if this was done randomly, then it is the most ungodly randomness I have ever seen, because this is basically 5 of the top 6 or 7 people on that ladder. So the fact that one of them's getting knocked out immediately here tonight is going to be insane in its own right. As we do see, Nareba in the green, Nefer in the red. Decent AoE damage going across the center there, but that little penguin just cannot quite slice fast enough. Nareba should be taking the damage here in just a moment's time. Sure enough, that is going to be the factor here. Nefer gonna win that one. And trying my best to not block any critical information here. Still trying to figure out where the best place to put myself would be. Slightly more here. And of course, as I'm doing the cast here, I'll do my best to talk about the creatures as well here in Illuvium, or the Illuvials, as they are called in game, including one of my favorites right there that we do see Motorstormer actually have right there in that big red shell of sorts. That is my favorite, the Archos. Basically, its big move is just an AoE heal over time to anybody who's friendly in there, and then does a little bit of damage and roots into position the opposing creatures or opposing Illuvials. You'll see in just a moment's time. Pops that big green wave down, keeps everybody healthy, does some damage and crowd control at the same time. And right now, Motorstormer looking to take care of Moonshadow, who is also currently a flawless NPC at this point, but that's not going to last much longer here. Motorstormer going to take them down. And especially in these first couple of rounds here, I do thank you for any patience in regards to my camera work. I was definitely fighting the camera for our first couple of rounds here, but I think I started getting the hang of it, especially when it came to the later matches. Now these rounds here, of course, when you see the gray bars on the characters themselves, that is a NPC player versus environment round, where it's basically just to check you to make sure you're not AFK, that you're actually playing the game, and just doing the bare minimal. I say that, but later on down the lines, there are a few NPC rounds that can make things difficult. Like, I was talking about the hollows earlier, and we see right here, actually, this awesome collection from our player, from Nefer. The entire lineup is basically full of dark hollows, which is very, very impressive, whether it be for as a creature collector, or they shout out a pretty penny to make sure that they can have that dark hollow collection. I wish there was a way I could tell between caught and bought, but at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't really matter. Either way, it is very stylish. Speaking of which, as well, this arena itself, as I play around with a couple of the camera options, don't mind me, but the arena as well, not the default arena, one that you can get in the shop afterwards. I think Nefer's the only one I've seen actually use this, so it definitely stands out compared to the traditional beach. Now we have ourselves a player versus player battle with Mujiwara and Nereba, both kind of trailing the line as of right now, but that is a-okay. You got a lot of health to work with here in Illuvium. Let's line them up here on the green side. That is going to be Muji. And Nereba in the red. And that is one of the bugs that does actually end up happening. Just trying to remember how to fix. Just gotta hop from one player to the other. Fix that up real quick. This does catch me off guard the first time that did happen. Back to the battle, though. It does appear red side overall just able to withstand this one. The nice thing, of course, we see the little Archie again. So the smaller form of the Archos that I was talking about earlier. If you can manage to stick that thing in a good spot where it, like, dead center of your entire team and it doesn't move, it really adds a ton of sustain to your team. And sure enough, unfortunately that little glitch kind of threw me off guard, but Mujiwara did confirm win that one. Nereba going to be trailing the field for now, but again, I don't think you really have to start panicking until you kind of hit that 50 health mark. Motorstormer versus Muji here. So Motorstormer leading the charge in this lobby as of right now. With this composition that we see right here, right now, getting a TNT, that little snail looking thing that I'm zooming in on real quick into this one, alongside a little bit of extra healing from the Archos. So this thing is going to pack a big punch as soon as it fires off its ability. It doesn't necessarily do the most in terms of its general auto attacks, but when it spews out and Has all the missiles flying everywhere. That is where things can get scary. However, on the opposite side here, on the right side, we do have the Sylph. Muji did manage to get it. You see that water beam going right through the entire field. That is a tier 5 unit. That is the rarest that you can find here in Illuvium. Granted, though, it is still just a baby, its first form. But you can see, taking down that TNT. So now a lot of the damage taken away here from the side of the green squad. However, they should be able to withstand one more water beam right onto the Ranger. But I think there is enough sustain. Archo is going to keep everybody topped off. And slowly but surely here, Muji is going to get themselves another win. Nefer and Motorstormer squaring up here in this next one. It does look like, unfortunately, there for Motorstormer didn't quite get to keep the TNT alive, but on the fortunate side, of course, Archos was able to keep things in check. Nefer going to look to turn the tides here with does appear to be a more rogue-based team, more assassin style. Jump on the other side of the board and try to take out your low health units from there first. Seems to be the plan, but at the same time, the Archos, while it is the healer, it is actually surprisingly tanky. With the only thing being that it doesn't have a whole heck of a lot of attack, and it doesn't really move. Motorstormer already going to lose one, going to almost lose its TNT as well. Sure enough, going to go down. The Lynx and the Valente doing a fantastic job taking that down, but this battle is completely spread out. Revo over on the left-hand side, a little hedgehog looking fella, gonna roll on in, but up against two, you've got the Monkey punching it from behind, and once again, Archos just showing exactly why it's so valuable and why so many people, including myself, love to have one on our teams. You can see even the little items on top as well. Motorstormer just wants to make that thing super tanky on top of it's already pretty decent tank. So probably frontline with it if you really wanted to later down the road. Never going to be going up against an AI this time, so let's switch around. Let's see what kind of battles we do have in store. Nereba is actually going up against Motorstormer. I know we've seen Motorstormer a few times here in the first couple of rounds, but Nereba already down to 70 health, so again, close to panicking, but not quite panic time just yet. Team composition here for the green side. I wish I can see the drone. There it is. Okay, so it's going to be Nereba on the green, Motorstormer in the red. Mainly rogues up against, once again, a little bit of sustain, a little bit of magic power coming out of the scions of the TNT on the side of Motorstormer. Dives on through. That Archos is immediately going to get jumped on by the rogues, but again, the roots coming out does do a little bit of damage, plus holds them in place for a little while longer. But if anything, now the healing is gone. This is the best opportunity here for Nereba to take care of the back line and just go through the front, and that's exactly what they are going to be able to do. The fact that those rogue alluvials were able to jump on to the Archos immediately, get rid of the sustain, was absolutely clutch in that one. I didn't catch it if Nereba had it in the first round, couple rounds as well, but it does look like alongside the rogues, he did also decide to pick empaths with it. So with that, giving you a little bit of damage when you have a shield, and it also gives you a shield every couple of seconds. So if you don't actually have a healer, having an empath, or the two empaths at least, gives you a tiny little shield every little bit. Helps you sustain at least a little. And of course, we have ourselves another NPC round, so once again, it is time to take a look at some of the shinies, or some of the hollows here. Pretty collections. The Ace, the little fire moth down at the bottom, looks extremely good, as we do see the Lynx frontlining alongside the Grocco, and just look at that thing shine. Of course, for those unaware, at least as of this moment, to actually get the shiny versions, or the hollow versions rather, of these Illuvials, you do have to go into either a an auto search function on the website where you basically pay some fuel and it'll do a run for you and catch you some Illuvials. It's kind of like open packs. It's gacha. Anybody who's known that's who's been around here around the stream a little while knows that I absolutely despise gacha and I hate that it's a feature. But I get it. People don't want to do the other option, which is, or some people rather, don't like to do the other option, which is going currently into the Illuvium Overworld, which is an open world, or not open world, but an adventure style, catch and collect style game that you can then bring into this game. And that's how you find your hollows and dark hollows. Of course, they have absolutely no benefit in regards to battlefield statistics. It is only cosmetic, and that is the only reason why you'd have to do anything NFT in the game right now. Our next battle here, we do have Yami Yugi up against Motorstormer once again. Motorstormer still above 85 health at this moment, but could be in for a world of hurt as they find another player here in Yami Yugi that is going for some serious sustain. You got the Ebb going to be able to just make it rain literally down across the entire field, healing allies, hurting enemies. But it's a matter of if Yami Yugi can get through this Axon, who's loaded up on items, an extremely beefy fella. And even though it's out of range of the Archos, its ability to just keep popping that vapor bubble every couple of seconds is enough to sustain through. And Yami Yugi going to take some damage here for round 13. Fujiwara still sitting around that 75 health mark. Motorstormer, of course, leading the charge. And Areba, who was at the bottom with 70 a couple of rounds ago, now moving up into the third place spot. Yami Yugi and Nefer currently the two players that are in the hot seat of sorts. But again, we're not within kill range. We're not within 50, which I would call like time of panic. So no need to worry right here, right now, not just yet. Next round here, Moonshadow, one of our NPCs, going up against one of our players. Did not quite catch the name, unfortunately, though. Dropping the ball there a little bit, but one thing I do like to see here, we got the double Scion with the Sliff and then the Octius. There's Octius. Back when I was playing on stream, I think it was last week or a week or two ago, it was extremely clutch at getting some serious burst damage down with those lightning shocks. Very fun to play with. And the resetting lightning when you get the final hit, or at least when you're a part of the final hits. One more water blast down here, and that will seal the deal there. Moonshadow taking a ton of damage. Our player will live to fight another day rather healthily. Now one Illuvial, though, in the middle, Vermilio, I believe it is called. It is a deceptive little thing, because it kind of looks like it should be doing damage. It jumps on the other side of the field like a rogue, but it's actually a tank. And it does have a little bit of damage, of course, but like the rogue's version of a tank. But of course now it's time to spin the wheel. What can you pick on through? Krakeneye going to be picking up that dash, very valuable. Tier 4 unit. Nefer going to be doing the same. Gets the attack augment as well, so could possibly jumpstart a dash, or just sell it for good money and put the augment onto somebody else. Of course, when you combine these augments, you were hearing earlier how I was talking about items. Well, certain combinations give you the option at getting certain types of items. Like 2 of the red ones for 2 attacks, 2 of the purples for 2 of the like magic damage styles. 2 yellows for health and tank, and then you can combine them for certain things. From what I understand, all of them are, for the most part, fine combinations. Just don't do yellow and purple. Support ones have a little bit of a hard time, and once again, just kind of looking at some of the shine on these hollows here. Dark hollows at that. The Umbri looks extremely cool like that, my goodness. But the hollow lineup of Nefer going on up against Mujiwara. The double Scion style here, the double mage style alongside the Mammoth, which is also a Scion. But it's more of a Scion tank. Snaps on through. We're going to see this from the other side. Mujiwara immediately had their Octius get destroyed, which means all the damage now onto the Sliff, as well as Vermilio. Sliff doing a decent job, but a big explosion that happened in the middle of that fight made things difficult. In theory, they should be able to take this down, but this Umbre is extremely well equipped, and it's actually going to be able to tear through. Beautifully done there from the Umbre. Of course, its ability, when it does use its attack, it goes untargetable, doesn't take any damage from abilities or auto attacks, and then hits a bunch of enemies that are close to it, eventually to pop out once again to do, or to be targeted once again. But because of all those health bars being so low, that was the perfect case there for that Umbre. And a Cardalox right there. Big, beefy tank, but just got to be placed in the right place. So Yamayugi going to be piloting that thing right there alongside the Blotto. Or the Blotto is the fully evolved version, but two tanks in the lead. You've got the Archos alongside the damage on TNT in the corner. Some sustain all around, but here comes the dive from the red side. Immediately going after a healer. It's not going to pop the one on the top side. The tanks are so far away from being able to actually help these supports and the damage that they might just get shredded through. TNT does not have enough time to burn through this. So sure, that Ox is extremely tanky, but it could not find a way to protect its team. So it's forced to get focused down last, and Nefer piloting that one to a perfect instance. Definitely one of the scary things about trying to spread yourself out with rogues. The supports were on different sides, and then they just end up getting swarmed down. Any of my StarCraft players out there, it's basically like getting swarmed by Zerglings. But at the same time, you bunch them up, and then especially when you start getting to some of these later tier rogues, you then start to have to worry about clumping abilities that can just destroy whole portions of teams if you're not careful. Of course, NPC around here going to ride along. But I believe this is Motorstormer currently leading the charge here. That Octius is loaded up with items as well. Lots of eggs in that basket. Big old fiery tank in the charge here. Threw a nature augment on that, or a nature item on that as well. So 6 nature currently here for Motorstormer. So not only does he have damage, but he's got sustain just passively, which is beautiful. Motorstormer up against Mujiwara. Mujiwara still has a crate available actually for an item, but is not going to end up opening it here. It looks like... Oh no, there's still 20 seconds. Optimally, they should have time for that. But both of them having Octiuses. The foe is also here now for the side of Motorstormer. Very, very quick and brutal up-close fighter. Tier 5, one of the rare ones that you can find. And I bet I swapped the sides here. That's not Motorstormer's, that is Mujiwara's. Mujiwara does have Snake up in the top left there. I want to call it the Scoriox, but I know it's the fully evolved version. It's an absolute brutal auto attacker. We see it taking care of the Vermilio. Able to stay sustained so far. Motorstormer might have bitten off more than they can chew. And I casted that backwards. Mujiwara bit off more than they could chew there. It was first time trying to do this one, and one of the things I did realize after the fact that I did was zooming a lot and not being able to find the drones to double check who exactly is on each side. But something to learn. Can't be perfect. Especially when this came out just yesterday. But nonetheless, now this is kind of panic time for a couple of our players here. Magneto, Krakeneye, Moonshadow, they don't matter. They're just AIs. They are not going to move on if they happen to get fourth. However, with Yami-Yugi and Mugiwara currently being below 50, this is where things start to get a little bit scary. As we see our next matchup, where both of our lower players, Yami-Yugi on the red side and Mugiwara in the green, one of them's going to get taken down to almost kill percent, if I do recall. See how it goes. Yami-Yugi did manage to upgrade that TNT into a Sephoris, so it is the strongest mage that it could possibly be, but it is being immediately targeted down by that water beam on the side of Mugiwara. The sustain, though, going into the favor of the red side, at least as of this moment. Never mind, they're able to burn right through the Sephoris. They're going to be able to pop that heal finally, but it's just supports and just tanks, but they're not able to block anything. The Ranger's eventually going to fall here. The Cardaloc's trying their best to block, but that water beam pierces. And that Mammoth right there in the middle is just yeeting everything across the field. And slowly but surely, Yami-Yugi is going to end up falling here. It looked really, really good off the start. But as that one went further and further on, Mugiwara was able to hang on, and now it's going to be Yami-Yugi with 26, so not quite kill percent. They have probably 2 more losses in the tank. Any more, though. Like 1 more, and then now your little health alert is popping on. Mugiwara versus Magneto, which is of course an NPC. However, this is an elimination. But of course, this is also when the AIs would spend all of their cash for an all-out burst, so you never know. We've seen it earlier in this round that a AI could catch you off guard, and there are a couple of rogues in the back line. There's the Ranger, and then there's also in the purple there, going to pop its ability in just a second, digs underground and stops anything from moving, charms it, and it did actually do a pretty considerable amount of damage, and this is actually maybe kind of what I was looking for. The red side is coming on through. Magneto, the NPC, is able to do a ton of damage. Vermilia, though, is one ability away from doing a ton of kills. Could not find it, though. The Mammoth is going to fall. Magneto actually deals some big damage to Mugi, who still has 2 of those item boxes. Oh no. I don't know if that's a visual glitch or if it's actually a thing, but that either way was very, very costly. We do see Krakeneye, so that's one of the NPCs getting taken off the board here, but now Mugiwara with 16, that is kill percent at this point, if I do recall correctly. And going up against Nefer, well, who does have the rather shiny of squads, or the hollow squads. How are they doing in terms of damage? We'll have to see, and never mind, it's actually... Oh, it's a ghost team, so... Mugiwara is going to have to go up against the ghost of Nefer, so because it's an odd number of players, one person's team gets used twice. And the team still has to beat it, but the ghost team is not positioned to beat the real team. But we're seeing right now immediately the ramp fight immediately onto the Octius, and this thing has an absolute disgusting ultimate if it gets to pull it off. Jumps to the skies, burns it down right on top of the Vermilio. Anything in that area could have gotten absolutely demolished, but it looks like this will be curtains here for one of our players. The ghost is going to take them down. Never mind, 3 health left. Very, very close there for Mugiwara. I was convinced that was curtains, but it is not. It's a fight another day one more time. And of course, as soon as one of the players does get eliminated, the game will finish because we only need the top 4. We don't need like a specific order of top 4. As long as there's top 4, then we move on to the next round. So Nefer looks like they're struggling a little bit alongside Yami Yugi. But if they could hang on for one more round, and if Muji happens to fall, they do get to move on to the next round here. One more AI round on top of this as well, it looks like. So basically the perfect case here for Mujiwara to try and regroup, beat up the AIs, get the items and the credits, the golds that comes from it, and start getting ready to make that final push. Although, taking a look at some of these other teams, no matter who he goes up against, it is going to be painful. This one here, of course, being Nereba, our leader with a fully decked out either ramp fight or ramp fire. That thing ults, it's going to absolutely kill you. As we do get the classic glitch after the platform segment. But as you see, nobody gets really taken down by these gray NPC rounds. It's a perfect breather in the action, though. And here we go. It's the bottom 2 battling it out. At this point, though, Nefer, I do not think, can die from this position. Muji can, though. In the green, it will be Muji. In the red, it shall be Nefer, who also does have the ramp fight or the ramp fire. Ramp fight, it looks like it. I keep forgetting those 2 little dots that you happen to see on the right side of the health bars do signal their stage level. So now that's not the fully evolved version of the Ramphie line, but this thing is still on a direct warpath to go in the middle of this team. And that is a scary position to have to get yourself into. It's completely dove on, especially as a mage player. The ram fight goes up to the top rope and does some pretty decent damage, but it may not necessarily even needed it. And this is what we expected to happen, unfortunately, when we saw the rogues swarm the mages. Just takes them down. And Mujiwara, who is actually currently sitting first in the ladder, is going to fall in round number 1. Nefer, Yami Yugi, Motorstormer, and OLA's Nereba are going to move on to the next round. One more shot here from the ramp fight just to see how much damage it could absolutely do here. Absolutely brutal. But with that, that is round number 1 complete. Let's hop on back over here to our arena. Get ready for round number 2. Ooh. 1 in the books. There we go. Bear with me for just a moment's time. Quick little water break. We also want to give a quick shout out while we're in between games here for what the rest of what next week's broadcasts will look like for myself as of right now. When we get back to broadcast or back to streaming on Tuesday, what on earth is that? I thought I had that on loop. Let's try that again. So yes, going into the streams for next week, Tuesday, the plan is to actually go a little hollow hunting for my own. I'm gonna hop on into the Illuvium overworld. There are a few tier zeros that I still do not have hollows of, and I do want to try my best to be able to find them before we start thinking about overworld getting replaced by the eventual MMO. Maybe we'll do a tier 1 run as well. I don't have too many of those hollows yet. Can't do a 2 or a 3 quite yet. Still got the supplies and strength to do so. But we'll explore the overworld together on Tuesday. And then on Friday, it is my 1 month of streaming progress report. I'm going to go over everything that I've, I guess, gone through broadcast, streaming, and I guess digital creator-wise. Break down, chat with you about it as well. And then we'll see. But depending on what time will tell, maybe we'll have another one of these coming up sometime soon. It depends on how it's received as well. I didn't really put out any advertising or anything for this one, so like I'd even mentioned it to one of the admins. They were excited, but I never told them that I actually went live. So they'll probably see this after the fact. And to the admins of Dreamers, hello, and thank you for tuning in. But let's get this ready to switch on over. This is semifinals now in this tournament. Quick little fix. Alright, there we go. Next round coming right up. Semifinals for the Dreamers Esports Illuvium Arena Gauntlet Tournament. Kill the music, switch on over. Let's get into the swing of things, why don't we? We'll see some familiar faces going into this one. Of course, Yamayugi, Nareba, Motorstormer, and Nefer have made it to the semifinals. But alongside them, from the other side of the bracket, we have OX Ma, Winnie, our Winnie Monarch. We have TDQ 94, as well as, where's the other? Did I miss anybody? OLA, that's why I saw OLA twice and I thought it was the same person, but no. OLA Haas coming on into this one. So no NPCs, just 8 players. Every round shall be an intense one. We already see here Motorstormer on the red side going up against the green side. I missed the drone once again, but I was too enamored by the hollow fleece over on the left-hand side. Laser beaming it down, but again, I feel like fleeces are just so... they feel extremely weak to me. I don't know about you all, but I feel like this thing's basically a dead weight on my team, even if I pair a Scion with it. Like, that thing was a stage 2, and granted the Grocko and the Doko were stage 2s as well, but it just does not quite feel as powerful as its other tier 0 counterparts. But that also could be a massive skill issue on my part, so I'm willing to consider that. Nareba up here for this next round on the red side. Already got some tank items for their Groko, so that's going to be a beefy grass boy. Meanwhile, the Lynx on the green side, some attack and ability based items as well, so that Lynx is going to hurt Valente on the green side diving right into the tank, and we can see, even if it's focused down, it's only finally made about halfway. It took the ability of the Valente to even get it low, and it still manages to live. Nareba is going to be able to burn through this Lynx pretty quickly, and sure enough, the 2-on-1. The Lynx from Nareba as well as the Doka are going to slowly put the beat down onto that Ranger. Take them down and sit pretty here in this one. Motor Stormer and Ma. Ma was the one from last round. See if we'll see them again. We're going to swap on over Yami Yugi and Nareba. Yami Yugi, I believe, getting either 3rd or 4th in that last round. Wasn't perfect, but it got the job done, and that's A-okay. You don't have to win every round. You just have to win the You don't have to win every round, you just have to win the last round. Double Lynx on the board here for the red side. Meanwhile, Yamiyugi, their poor tank, the poor Groko is just getting outclassed here by Narebas. And it's all down to just the Tiru Cub. That's not going to last long whatsoever. So an unfortunate one here for Yamiyugi is Nareba's going to be able to put the beat down on them rather roughly here for this first initial round. Lots of damage taken considering how early in the game it is. Hopefully they can start snowballing here sometime soon. Yamiyuki going up against Ma. And Motor Stormer and Haas. Gonna be the one we're gonna take a look at here. That Axon already having that reflective plate item. I don't think that's exactly adaptive something or another. All you gotta know is that after a certain period of time, it starts doing AoE damage or starts doing damage around the Axon based off of its resistances. So the fact that that vapor bubble from the Axon can keep it tanky, keep it shielded. The perfect character, perfect alluvial to use this on. We see 4 rogues jump on it. It does not care. Pops the shield, shakes it off. Does some decent damage across the board. There is the Atipa with the shield to try and keep the Axon alive right at the death's door. But the Axon hangs on. And no squishies shall be touched here for Motor Stormer, taking that one. Haas and Yamiyugi having themselves a pretty rough time here as we go into our next NPC round. Who's got the prettiest collection here so far? Hey, if anyone knows me personally, I'm a sucker for lynxes in real life. And seeing the lynxes here in game, well, that's just absolutely beautiful. The double hollow as well. Awesome little collection. Watch them put the beat down here onto these Dokas and have their little team meeting. No. In theory, it should be time for the roulette wheel. There it goes. So in terms of things that kind of stick out, they do have the grass sloth looking fella. I wanted to call it the Twine, but no, the Twine's the second stage. But a tier 3 tank that a lot of people like to use. Never gonna end up picking up the, I want to call it TNT, but that is the second form. And nice there on Ma, actually able to get the nature item. Probably not going to end up using the monk here, but that's okay. You got the item, just sell off the monk here. Still get great value from doing so. Nefer Nareba and Motor Stormer TDQ. I don't think we've gotten the chance to see TDQ yet here, and we're going to see them this time in the green. playing around with the camera maybe a little bit too much. I couldn't tell what each Illuvium actually was there. We already know Motor Stormer's Axon, though, is an absolute menace. We'll have to see if the jacked up links here on the side of TDQ can get through, or if maybe the Tatofi, that's the one. The Tatofi, the baby TNT, little snail guy, has enough firepower to get on through. They do have a little sustain, but that Valente being right on top of the TNT is going to make things a little bit difficult. The Fleesh from the right-hand side firing on through, right onto the healer. They tank it, but they do not have enough time to get a second heal there for the Archie. And while all this is happening, the Lynx is trying to finally get rid of that Valente, but it's too little too late. This is a 5-on-1 now as the Archie falls. Just a matter of time before the Lynx does, and that's going to be TDQ going to be taking a hit that time. And we've not had the opportunity, I think, yet to take a look at Winnie Monarch. One of the admins, actually, of the Dreamers Esports events, whether it be TFT or Illuvium. So good to see them getting out to play as well. Was sitting pretty high on health as well, 92, if I do recall correctly. Almost as if they heard me, just comes on in to just double check. Meanwhile, on the other side, we do see that hollowed out Archos trying to keep everything healed up, but the heal actually got canceled because of that Gorilla's taunt. But I don't think Winnie in this instance has enough tank to really be able to hang in there. The Tatofi is going to be going down, and even though it's not the strongest team on the green side in terms of damage, they were absolutely able to out-sustain. Winnie going to take the hit this time. And just look at this thing. Like, I love this thing. It looks good even hollowed out, too. That's Nereba's, okay. Ma going up against Haas. Haas definitely in a world of hurt here. Round 10 and already at 65. I mean, there is a strategy that you can do in this game, very, very similar to what you would see with Teamfight Tactics, but streaking is a thing in terms of win streak and loss streaks, not the other kind of streakings you sick people. But no, you get slowly but surely you get more gold or more credits if you win more often, or if you win in a row or lose in a row. So if you're willing to take the hits, can benefit in terms of credits, which unfortunately for Haas is looking like it's going to have to be the case, as Ma is going to be able to get the win rather convincingly here. Because the one thing you have to balance, of course, if you're in a position where you're trying to lose streak, you do have to try and stop how much damage you're taking, and for every alluvial that's on the field, it does additional damage. So you want to lose, but you don't want to lose by much. Meanwhile, Haas here has just been completely willing to just get destroyed early in these games. Very, very risky, but we'll see if it pays off later. Yami Yugi finding themselves extremely low as well. Up against Winnie Monarch this time, though. Bunch of fighters there. They've got the polar bear, which is basically one of the most popular alluvials so far in the game based off of the few stats that I have seen. You load that thing up with tank as well as maybe a little bit of damage, or if you happen to get some lifesteal. So I believe its ability, its main bite has a little bit of lifesteal as well, and it becomes an absolute unstoppable killing machine. But the one thing that Winnie does have going in their favor is they did manage to get the Scarabok, that little beetle that you see right in the center. That's a tier 5 tank. However, we're seeing the polar bear do its work, absolutely shredding on through the tank. But was that enough time here for the rest of the Winnie squad to finally swarm them down. Sure enough, that is going to be the case. Beautifully done there by Winnie. Tank doing exactly what it needed to. Sure, it died rather quickly, but by the time it died, so were the other priority targets on the side of Yami-Yugi. So 50 health here for Yami-Yugi. Winnie Monarch, 73, sitting in a pretty decent position, if I were to say so myself. Put a little breather in the action here as we do have another NPC round. A little bit of a DPS check going up against these tanks. So it's again trying to find the prettiest character, or the prettiest Illuvial. I'm a sucker for the ace, I'll tell you that. The Fire Moth just looks absolutely fantastic. Oh, but there's a contender as well. I'm a sucker for Dark Hollows as well. And the Monk here always looks good, but the TNT Dark Hollow looks absolutely menacing. I love it. Yeah, they'll be able to clean this up without issue. Yeah, once again, you'll hear me mention the hollows and the shinies, or whatever you want me to end up calling them. And of course, how do you actually get those? You do need to either do drone runs on the Illuvium website, or I think it's possibly in the game as well now, where you're spending your fuel to basically do pack openings where you're catching the Illuvials. That's one way to do it, the gacha, the card gamer kind of style. That's not exactly the style I like, though. I like going into Illuvium overworlds, looking in the wild and trying to catch it myself. Again, though, not a mandatory part of the game. Don't need an NFT at all to play this awesome arena battle. Just as is. You do see here on the green side, this is the kind of composition I actually like to run personally. I love getting Verdant and Wildfire if I can. And we are seeing right here 7 Nature, 2 Verdant. That is a beefy squad here. Fire Chicken coming on through, and I guess, yes, one more time, take a look at that shine, or 2 shinies here, or 2 hollows rather. Twine and the Archos. So that was Nereba taking one of their first hits here in this game. No one's gonna believe I'm not sponsored by the way that I'm talking about the game, but I just know there's a lot of things about this game, especially Web3 gaming in general, that scares a lot of people away. They hear like NFTs and they start thinking of Ubisoft, and they start thinking about things that have just gone wrong. That's why I stress. This is free to play. NFTs as of right now give you no competitive advantage in the Gauntlet and are just for cosmetic. There are other game modes, of course, or maybe that will change one day, but we're not there yet. For this next one here, we see at the very, very bottom right here beside me, that is going to be the Forest just doing an absolute tear. It's got a little bit of extra range, it looks like, as well. So normally the Forest needs to get up close and personal and fist fight ya. But with that extra bonus range, it's able to keep a pretty safe distance, playing around their tanks. But does it have enough damage to get on through some of these other tanks? Does have that ability, it shoots directly through anything in front of it, and it is going to be enough to do so. Very, very tanky for us. As the rest of the squad there goes down. Motor Stormer going down to Nefer and taking a pretty decent chunk now that we've reached round 15. Now this is one of the odd bugs you'll kind of see right here beside me, but sometimes it goes into the carousel, or the roulette wheel as I called it before, without the spectator. So, they're doing that, will be just 1 second. But taking a look at the lobby overall so far, OLA Haas at the lowest point here at 37, Yami Yugi 46, Winnie Monarch 57, Nefer 61, Ma 74, TDQ 76, Motorstormer 81, and Nareba 85, leading the charge here in this one, as we see Haas once again going up against Motorstormer. Haas with the very, very ballsy team composition of a ton of rogues plus just the one Winx. And it looks like they threw a polar bear into it as well. No, they opted against the polar bear. Gonna pick the Vermilia instead. So a very, very all-in play style here for Haas. Of course, let the bug go through once again. Quick click. There we go. Catch back up, so we do see the back line basically immediately getting evaporated there from the green side of Motorstormer. And the tanks aren't even lasting that long either, to be honest. The Axon, the one that's the super tanky one, was all the way up front. It didn't really have the opportunity to stop some of these rogues. And that was a very convincing win here for Haas, who waited to, again, that like 37 health mark, and must have used up whatever they could, or they've built up enough of an economy with the credits. Start finding some of the alluvials they wanted, and that rogue squad is actually looking very, very good right now. Okay, both of the players down at the bottom as of this moment. So Haas versus Yami Yugi, but again, we did just see how well Haas did up against Motorstormer, who is in that top half of the field. So the health says one story, but this is still extremely dangerous. Lots of rogues to try and deal with. Does anybody get swarmed down? Handful of tanky members on the side of Yami Yugi, but oddly enough, it looks like the green side able to tear through one, looks for the other, takes care of the ranger up on the top left side. They're able to take care of the Cardillo as well. So one taunting tank out of there. The bear is down as well, no sustainable damage, and Yami Yugi now going to be put onto death's door. And I love the little animations at the very, very end of this end of the rounds. Floss on them. There we go. Absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. One more NPC round here. Bit of a tank check up against these rogues. TDQ loading up a squeeze, of course, the baby form of the Octius that we've gotten familiar with over the last week or so. Put it up with a couple items, maybe even to try and tank it up a little bit, because I don't think that first item it has anything to do with damage. I could be wrong though. But that is one of the tough things about playing the Scions, or playing Squeeze especially, that it's so squishy. Anything jumps on it, or it catches a stray, and all of a sudden it's at half health, or it's gone. But this time we got Ma in the green with a very tanky composition with that verdant nature style. They got Winnie Monarch. It's tanky again, the Eat Earth 2 Granite, so the TNT and the Scarab is going to be completely invincible for the first little bit. And having so many Earth affinities on your team means that each of these alluvials have so much defense. This might just turn into a wet noodle fight of sorts, or heavily rely on the abilities of these Illuvials. But the Gorilla, again, it's loaded up with attack stuff, and it's very good at finding a way into the back line. Does manage to get onto the Ebb, which is a full team AoE heal if it can get there. Those shields are strong enough to let that heal go on through. Does the Gorilla get out of dodge? It does right before it goes down. Just enough time to take care of one. Archo's getting pressured, but does manage to eliminate the Gorilla. So some big damage on the red side from Winnie getting taken off the board. Ranger goes down. The Gorilla is still in a slap fight, but it's been blinded by the Blotto. And now the Wildfire on top of it. The slow and steady burn coming on through. Muh is going to be able to win this one. That personally is the kind of play style I love doing. Wildfire Verdant or Wildfire Nature. I don't like flashy boom and you're gone assassin tactics or up close and personal fist fights or whatnot when it comes to the video games. I love just being able to tank, withstand, and heal. I know it's completely on brand, but it's exactly what I do. And if the overtime Pulse has to do the damage for me, then so be it. But I can understand why people don't like that. First up against last now is going to be Yami-Yugi hanging on for their life up against Motorstormer. Couple of rogues going to jump on right into the back, completely annihilate the TNT. But on the opposite side, trying to get some of these fistfires down, that menacing looking polar bear is going to be tough to deal with. Immediately taking care of the penguin, and there's just way too much damage here from Yami-Yugi. Took a beating early in this game, but has fought back valiantly. Very menacing looking squad indeed. That polar bear wasn't touched like at all. But perfect timing, get some damage, get some tank, get the team composition together, and it's nothing too crazy. Like there's, or I wouldn't say nothing too traditional of sorts. Like you got toxic, water, air, fire, and earth all being there. Mixtures of fighters, bulwarks, behemoths, and rogues. Meanwhile, the other side was all earth, basically. Earth does seem to be one of the more popular affinities that people will go for to not one trick, but to all in on. A lot of people try to stack earth with mud or something like that. But it seems like a few people are trying to go for it, which means your chance at actually finding the alluvials you want is going to be rough. And now this is another battle at the bottom. Winnie Monarch, our admin, right on death's door. I think if they do lose this one, that will be the tournament for them. They do have the granite, they do have a bunch of earth, so this is a tanky squad to have to go through. But can it beat through that nasty polar bear, the fighter squad here of Yami-Yugi? Immediately the gorilla goes down, so one assassin off the board. They do have a foe snuck in there as well, but it is not going to be enough here for Winnie Monarch. There is just too much damage. They may have the tankiness, they may have the heals, but they cannot quite eliminate the targets fast enough here. And that polar bear is going nuts. And that will be the elimination here of Winnie Monarch. And that spazzo right there is a bug currently where when you're spectating a player that ends up getting eliminated, it switches to another person and the camera seizes out. So bear with me there. That's not something I'm trying to do, but it is something that does end up happening quite a few times. Now, while all this was going down, TDQ was hovering around 3rd and 4th for the most part in this match. Seems to have fallen off a little bit early here in this early in the late game, but that makes perfect sense. But possibly have run out of gas early here, and that ramp fight is going to be something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. That is completely loaded up, and this is a team that's completely squished in. This is where the ramp fire, or the ramp fight shines. It did get pushed aside, but it's completely surrounded. This is exactly what it wants to do. The rest of the rogues and the rest of the squad here on the green side doing a fantastic job as well. But here it comes, drop the flame on them, and everybody gets completely torched. TDQ's run here in this tournament is over. The drone has been eliminated. TDQ going to drop from this tournament now. And that's a scary thing about late game Rogue. If they do manage to get the ramp fight or ramp fire. Because optimally you want to be grouped up to stop rogues from singling out certain targets. But ramp fight or the rampy line, just that big fire ring of death of sorts, is just absolutely devastating against grouped opponents. If it could find that slight little corridor to just squeeze into, and it gets an ult or it gets an ability shot like that, it's scary. But with 2 down, there's 2 to go. Again, we're still just going to the top 4. Right now, Team OLA leading 1-2 in this one, with Nereba and Haas leading this one. Haas just on an absolute win streak for themselves as well. They had a very, very brutal first half of this game, and they've been pretty well unstoppable since the second half, so holding on strong. Ma's been holding on pretty strong as well, but anybody, I think, from Ma down could just get this completely flipped on their head. It won't be this round. This is just a defensive check of sorts here. There we go. Could be flipping over in a second. There we go. So this is a little bit scary here for Yamayugi, going up against Haas, who hasn't lost since like round 16 or something like that. Granted, the rogues on the side of Haas are not necessarily fond of going up against fist fighters, which Yamayugi does have a lot of, but if they do manage to swarm them down, that could be curtains here. Granted, the Seer of Yamayugi's could be very, very strong if they do surround that Illuvial in particular. The fire Illuvial right there in the middle, it's actually in a pretty decent position. And it's going to be able to take care of one of them at least. Here comes a fireball from the Rampfire. Does do some pretty decent damage onto Yamayugi's side. And it's just a matter of dealing with the bear now, but they have their own bear, and sure enough, that will be the end of the road here for Yamayugi. Some might say that he got sent to the Shadow Realm. And the Nefer actually got eliminated too in that one that we saw or see off camera. So that is your top 4. OLA, Nereba, Haas, then Motorstormer, and Ma make it into your grand final. Oh, how quickly things switch, but just like that, we have our grand finals locked and loaded. And this time, you have to actually win the lobby. There's no top 4 in this one. Granted, everybody who's made it into the top 8 do manage to get some prizing by Dreamers Esports themselves. I believe they either do USDT or ILV token. We'll definitely need to look that one up for sure. But again, just looking forward to this. I've just been having fun. Let's get it set up, why don't we? Yeah, this next round for all the marbles, for all the token, what have you. And as promised, the quality issue is fixed for this round. Okay. I'm gonna get into it in just a second here. Just catching my breath a little bit. I did have to turn the AC off because I noticed in past VODs that if I had the AC on, you heard a buzzing noise in the background throughout the whole thing. So fair enough, I turned it off. I want the best quality for everybody. But without further ado, our last match of the night. Grand Finals. Let's get into it. And in this one, we're hopping right into the swing of things. It looks like not wasting any time with the NPC rounds. And oh, that quality is just so much better. It doesn't look like I'm at 360p this time. We'll see Motor Stormer. We're going to introduce the rest of our players here in just a moment's time. We have Unhappy, Ma, another OLA. It's going to be OLA Frodo, Alnerds, OLA Haas, OLA Nereba, Motor Stormer, and Arthalex to round out our grand final. I do believe that this is confirmed all 8. I'm not sure if anybody missed the start of the grand final. I don't think that was the case. But here we go. Frodo versus Alnert. Team Phantom, if I do recall correctly, if that's what that acronym stands for. Seen them around the Discord for a little while. Early game of Rogues versus Empaths here. Gonna be Frodo with the Rogues on the green side. Alnert in the red. It's a pretty tanky Earth Grocko to have to try and fight through. Trying to dam this, get it pretty low. Can it pop one more stun off? No, it will not. So it's just a matter of taking care of the Atlas, which they do. Frodo going to start off on the strong side here. And I'd point out the OLA team kills, but I feel like that'll happen quite a few times here in this one, considering there's the 3 of them. It is unavoidable at this point. Hopping on a ride with Unhappy going up against Alnert again. Alnert taken down in that last one, but how will they hold up here versus Unhappy, who's already got the Harbinger class buff on, so that Axon is going to be a jerk once again here. It's not Nereba this time using it though. Point blank up against the tank. Here comes the Lynx on the side of Alner to going right up against the Earth Grocko on the side of Unhappy. Does manage to take it down, but by focusing the tank and let the Lynx take care of their Lynx, I think so far this looks rather decent for Unhappy, whose Lynx is able to get onto the heels. That triple chop of sorts, those claws doing tons of damage. I don't think you're going to be able to out-sustain that. Nope, the Archie does go down. One more triple chop coming on through. It takes care of one. And once again, the Axon still just left standing. That alongside the damage from that Lynx was enough. Unhappy going to take that one. course, our grand finals here for today. This Dreamers This Dreamers Esports tournament happens twice a week. Twice a week for Illuvium, happens twice a week for Teamfight Tactics. Their own little leaderboard and everything. With Web3 tokens and crypto coins as a prizing. I know personally it's free to enter anyway, so I just love a good competition. As we do see Red Side getting absolutely shredded here in this one. Brutal, brutal showing. This is going to be a weird one here for Motorstormer then, because the last two games that we did get to see with them, they've basically been in, if not the driver's seat, like second or third, pretty well the entire way through. I've never gotten to see how they end up playing when pushed from behind, or from trying to catch up being behind, so this will be a little bit different. Nareba in the same kind of position, it looks like. NPC round here with our leader, or tied for the lead, as both Frodo and Ma sitting at 96. Clean that up nice and quick. Couple of hollows on the bench there for them, looking shiny, looking pretty. And we did get the glitch where it doesn't bring us into the carousel, so gonna have to wait for just a moment. While we do this, let's huddle in with Frodo for a little team meeting. Definitely a sucker for the hollow lynxes. I gotta find one myself. Alright, there we go. Frodo's going to be going up against Unhappy. Switch on over. Here's the one of the OLA team kills here. We do have Haas in the green, Nareba in the red. Four rogues versus fighters and empaths. I'll dive on through here in just a moment's time. Already getting the quick tier 3s rogues. This happens every single time the carousel happens, doesn't it? Makes sense, at least we'll know for next time. And it looks like the rogues are going to prevail, which means in theory this should be Nareba taking a bunch of heat once again. From 83 down to 78. Alright, there we go. Next round here, Frodo versus Ma, it looks like. Two of our leaders. Nothing too fancy out of the side of mods, just the 2 empaths, 2 bulwarks, and you got the links there for some decent DPS. Meanwhile, on the other side, the 1 rogue alongside 3 empaths, so a little bit more sustain on the side of Frodo. But the 2 lynxes, especially the lynx that Ma has that has the items on it. If that thing doesn't get taken down, that could be a little bit scary. Sure, there is the one psionic links. Could do the trick. There's the charge shot coming on through. It is a 3-on-1, but granted, this thing hits like a truck if it gets stability off. While being untargetable, fires on through the links, does take it out. Arcane Links, can it get one more shot and take them down? No, it will be defeated. Right on the doorstep. Does manage to take out the Atipo, but not enough to take out the Ranger. So a very, very close battle, but Ma is going to take that one. As they now go up against Nereba. Alice is up against Alnert as well. Arthalex up against Unhappy. That Axon, though, once again, I mean, we've seen time and time again so far here in this tournament how many people just like Axons. And in this instance here with Unhappy, having already 2 completed tank items on it, and then a little bit of extra health as well if that augment is just absolutely devastating. It is going to eventually be taken down, but look how many other characters or how many other alluvials the red side had to lose to even get to that point. Granted, as I say that, they're actually going on through here. This tier 5 Alfie is just doing such a great job. Sheesh, I thought that one was going over towards Unhappy's side, and man, was I wrong. Motorstormer versus Unhappy here in this next round. Nereba really taking a lot of heats as well, already down 63. Motorstormer in the same boat. Two players that I've not seen had the fight from behind at all so far in this tournament, so little awkward spot for them to try and fight their way out of. Ma, in the meantime, though, sitting pretty. But as for our battle here this time, by pretty well mirrors in terms of what is being used class-wise, but affinity-wise, it couldn't be any more different. The 5 Earth, 3 Fire compared to the 2 Air, 1 Fire, 1 Earth. So lots more bonuses going into the red side's favor. See the Revo jumping pretty much right on my shoulder here, trying to get a shot at the tank, but that Graco is just doing such a good job of staying alive, only falling now. And this is why affinity is not everything. What looks like statistically should go one way actually goes the complete opposite. Yeah, the pain just continues here for Nereba. Alnert going to hold the middle pack as we have ourselves another NPC around our DPS check. But of course, while we have our DPS check, if anybody in the comments wants to let me know what is your favorite alluvial in this first set. Of course, many more planned in the future, but these will always be the classics. I know I kind of mentioned it before in round 1, but mine is the Archie line. The Archelion is my favorite. Tear on through real quick. I gotta say that the hollowed Eddie and Twine look really, really nice together. Taking a look at a battle towards the bottom. Haas has kind of found their way down into the bottom half as well. Granted, still at 72 health. Motorstormers still trying to fight their way out there. They have the rogues to do it. 5 of them currently for Haas. And then it's actually Bulwark Fighter for Motorstormer. Sorry, I had that backwards at first. So, obviously rogues jumping into fighters isn't necessarily something they want to do. But if they have a dive buddy or two, it may not matter. I like the repositioning done here by Motorstormer to have the tanks actually be the ones that catch the rogues. And how many casualties do they find? They do lose the Ranger, but it isn't going to be a perfect 1-for-1. The Axon even going to be getting extremely low. Lots of Illuvials falling here for Motorstormer, it looks like. The Empaths on the side of Haas was able to hang on as well and just be a nuisance that entire time. So the rogues from Haas coming in clutch here, knocking Motorstormer to 45 and getting them into the spot where I would start getting a little bit antsy if I were playing. Which is definitely rough because at this point here, round 13, I don't think you're at max interest yet. Or you're pretty close. Depends on if you've rolled or not, or how much you've spent on leveling yourself up. And oh dear, we'll see it later, but the fact that Frodo already has a Ramfire is kind of... Oh, not Ramfire. Ramfight. I keep screwing that one up, but the fact that they have that already is kind of terrifying, as is the fact that it looks like Unhappy has a squeeze that is decked out with a bunch of mage items, as well as that Axon decked out with a bunch of tank items. The tank means nothing if you don't have the damage. They actually reset the squeeze, it looks like. Opting to reassign some of those items over to the Ramfy, as well as their Mammoth. So, did not want to put all their eggs in the squeeze basket, which, considering the squeeze just got jumped on by that Vermilio, was probably a good choice. But the Charm coming on out here from the red side gonna make things a little bit annoying. Good fireball coming in the back line here for the red side, but that Ramfy is going to end up falling. Unhappy will get taken down here. Alnerd's positioned to perfectly to just quickly dispose of that composition. Ariba does manage to break the streak, it looks like, at that 46 health mark. Takes the win. Keeping them and Motorstormer extremely close as we do get the ride along this time here in the carousel. Motorstormer, you got first pick. Find something of value. A good pick up there from Nareba to be able to pick up the Scoriox line. And Motorstormer gets the Mammoth as well. So, of course, at the very worst, if you don't want that Illuvial, you just sell it. And both of them would have 4 extra credits, which is a pretty big deal. However, both of the Illuvials that they picked are favorited amongst the competitive player base, especially now. I believe that the Scoriox did end up getting buffed. So it does a little bit more damage as your auto attack carry. But you'll oftentimes see the Mammoth getting put into compositions, even if it's not air-based. However, we are seeing an air-based one here. Air and Fire Inferno we actually get to see. Which in theory, you got the Inferno to take care of the grass type here that we're seeing on the left-hand side. However, air is not good against grass. So it kind of counters each other out here. Of course, it's the carousel. I gotta go back real quick. So Ma, with the green nature style, is going to be generating hyper, or damage and a little bit of healing. Sort of like a super effectiveness if you're used to, say, Pokemon, for example. And you can see the sparks flying from the Inferno, but the damage over time I do not think is going to be enough to stop the sustain of this massive nature inverted squad. You see that green shape on the ground. Any green players stepping in that just get healed over time, and that's why even still, many seconds into this battle, there's still so many high health bars. Just the air kind of getting countered out did not do any favors to the opponent there. Motorstormer going up against Ma as well. This is kind of rough if they end up losing that one, because they will be close to Death's Door. Haas looks like they might have disconnected. Their name is grayed out here. It would be very unfortunate if they had to actually leave, but it looks like that might have been the case. So let's hop back with Ma and Motorstormer. Get to see if they can take a crack at trying to break this bunker that we're seeing here in the top left side. They do have a little bit more consistent damage as they're dealing with fighters. Or they're trying to get it as fighters, rather. They have the tier 5 foe. They have the polar bear that's tier 4. So these are some very, very powerful fighters. Can they sustain through? So far it looks right now Motorstormer is able to punch their way through. They are on the back line. They've killed off the main healers. They should be able to clean this up, and Motorstormer in the perfect position to try and maybe snowball a comeback. Exactly what Motorstormer needed there. Just enough consistent damage that could outpace the healing. As we then go into our next NPC round, defensive check up against the rogues. Virus up on the left-hand side there, of course. Anything that lines up in front of it gets tagged once it uses its ability. Basically shoots an arrow across everybody. One of the best fighters, if not... Oh, it's definitely up there. It's the tier 5 fighter, but some would argue that the polar bear is better, even though it's tier 4. Alnerd, oddly enough, still has... Or not oddly enough, we just finished an item round. Of course we're going to have items. Now this will be interesting here. So Nareba trying to find their way back into this one after having a very, very rough start. Unhappy was off to a pretty decent start, but then kind of got taken down. They do have the ramp fight, and they position it properly to get much value. You can see very, very quickly here, Nareba's trying to get some sort of control onto this ramp fight. And we'll have to see how the dive goes. Does the ramp fight find a good hole to get into? It's literally dead center in the middle of the team. Absolute worst case scenario. Granted, they stun it up. It's going to fire off the ability. Does it get to? No, it does actually go down right before getting the chance to pop the ability. Now is the opportunity here for Nareba to get the damage done. Had that ramp fight actually fired off its ability in time, that would have been devastating to everybody surrounded there, but the stun coming out from the Apon was enough to stop it in its tracks, and the damage from the Ferriox and the Sea Forest was enough to shut it down. Everything goes right here for Nareba. But I feel like we're starting to see a lot of these ramp fights kind of coming into play here. It's a fan favorite based off the way it looks and the way it plays, and it's no different here in the tournament scene. The perfect bunker buster if you can find the opening. As we have Athalex versus Unhappy. And this is on the contrary. We see the double Scions coming out as well here from Unhappy, so really trying to force firepower with the squeeze alongside the ramp fight. Try and deal with the sliff that's in the background. Deal with the sustain. The jump this time here for Unhappy is just going to go pushed off to the side, so still do some decent damage. However, it took down 3 of them extremely quickly, including the support line. So that is just going to make it completely curtains here. That's what Unhappy was looking for. Arthalex is going to fall down to 45, and we're slowly but surely starting to get more and more players into that danger zone. With Haas likely to be the first casualty, as it looks like they did disconnect. Two players closer to the bottom this time, Unhappy and Motorstorm. Also looking to do the kill shot here onto Haas, who did basically just go for the most part all rogue, but just could not connect after the fact. I think it's a safe bet that that's probably going to be an elimination if they haven't been around for a good couple of rounds. So now Motorstormer versus Unhappy, and we're seeing the dance here. Everybody trying to get the last second positions changed to try and position around that ramp fight and position the battle as best as they possibly can. And we're gonna see it. Wait on that left-hand side, fires it up, gonna find two, including the Archos, gets completely demolished. Inferno getting targeted as well. Granted, some decent damage being done up in the top right-hand side. One more ult, can they run away? They actually run away from the ramp fight this time. The blinds coming in at a good position too. The ramp fight did not get any swings off on this squad. Very, very close one-on-one battle. Ranger versus the Forux. For us, and it is going to be our favorite little green bird securing that one-on-one in a very, very close fashion. Unhappy now at Death's Door up against Downert. Love the little hollow Verminio there. Loaded up with tank items as well, so sure it jumps into this heat of battle as if it's a rogue, but it is completely willing to tank as much as possible. Now once again, all eyes on the Ferrite, or the Rampfight rather. I'm literally mixing names together in this one. Not a bad spot actually here if I'm in the green, considering the position of the ramp fight. I'm not necessarily too concerned, but a lot of the rogues actually dove on top of it to try and kill it, and it's actually a kamikaze mission. That ramp fight just took care of 4 of the green players. Luvials by itself. One more time, up to the skies. Is it enough to kill? It is close. It is absolutely going to be able to get it done because that thing had Omnivamp, and by hitting so many Illuvials, it healed basically up to full. Absolute devastation coming out there from that ramp fight. One more time around the carousel we go. Possibly 2, maybe 3 players on Death's Door. Unhappy, Arthalex, Nareba. All a little bit nervous to say the least. Going to be picking up as much value as they can. Nareba did pick up the foe, so whether they wanted the tank item or whether they want to sell it for 5, I mean, high value nonetheless. Motorstormer kind of gets the short end of the stick there. Sitting at 28 HP, but still at the halfway point. Definitely unlucky in that regard. Taking a look around the board here. Of our remaining 7 players in this game as they go up against the NPC defensive check, the send-off there is going to be the win con for the player that we're highlighting over, but I can't see their drone, so I cannot remember who exactly we're highlighting over. That Ferriox is going to be scary as well, loaded up on attack damage, carry, attack speed kind of items, exactly what it loves. Clean that up nice and quick and get ourselves back into the battle, because of course this is your grand finals here for the Dreamers Esports DayDream tournament. As anybody who made the top 8 already got into the prizing, but of course, better prizing the higher you go, and who's gonna take care of this one? Get all the ladder points as well for the Dream Ladder. Nareba versus Arthalex. going to be the one I think we take a look at here. The C4 is going to be doing some pretty decent damage, but it's not going to be the main carry that we're looking for. We're going to be paying attention to the Scoriox now that he just picked up. This thing just going to slowly but surely just pack a consistent punch to the sustained team that we see on the other side here of Arthalex. The Exalted Gorilla as well, loaded up on damage items as well, so it's going to be doing a fantastic job of just being slippery, trying to get in towards the Sylph. Will they be able to find it? They immediately burst down the tank and dive on in towards the front line, actually. Very, very close there for the Scoriox to go down, but it is going to hang on tight. The Sylph was targeting it at first. Instead now, going to end up going towards the Ebb, which is going to be able to heal some people before they end up going down. Lots of low health bars here on the Arthalex's side. They may not have the Scoriox to worry about, but they have everything else to worry about, and they will go down. C-Forest and the rest of the squad there for Nareba able to get the job done. On the meantime, hopping over to Frodo. Frodo does get taken out here by Alnert, so brought down to 38. Nareba, the only one I think threatened on Death's Door here. Hop on back over. The Scoriox was in danger that entire time. Still did a pretty decent amount of damage. Wasn't there for the end though, and I'm not sure if Ma is going to let him get away with that compared to how Arthalex did. Does look like Ma does have the Super Chicken, the Blazonite in the background. So this is Verdant and Wildfire. This is what I love to see. This is what I love to play. Hardly ever do I ever get to see the Blazonite actually come into fruition, though. It was usually a pretty contested alluvial. It may be an empath, but that thing might as well be an AD carry of sorts. Charging on through. As of right now, the carry is all pretty well untouched. A Gorilla in the back line of the green side here of Ma, but it is not going to be able to get past the sustain. The greens are sustaining too well, it looks like. Never mind, there is a hole. They have found the hole to get on in. Scoriox is still just pumping out tons of damage. Blazonite going to end up going on down. And it's just a matter of time now for the red squad to pump on through and shut this down. It looks like Nareba is going to hang on once again. Ma now on Death's Door. Motor Stormer on Death's Door. Nareba on Death's Door. Top 5. And this is where things get a little bit antsy, a little bit terrifying, if you will. Nareba versus Motor Stormer. It's Nareba's Ghost. Let's see if we can find one where it's player versus player here. Alnert leading the charge here with 41, looking to get the killing blow onto Nareba. But Nareba versus Motor Stormer, because this is probably, or could possibly be a finishing blow here to Motor Stormer. But it could be the play that they need to try and get there, considering the Ghost is not positioned to fight their team in particular. Can they capitalize? They have the forest for themselves, just being able to pretty well uncontestedly just attack the tank until its power spike happens. And it looks like, actually, Motor Stormer's going to keep themselves into this game. With the way that snapped, it made me think that somebody got eliminated, but no. Still in this one. Alnert did actually lose the battle versus, I believe it was Nareba. So now 21, that is not a very comfortable number at either. I don't think they lose off of one loss, but I mean, I could be wrong. All right, bottom 2, Nareba versus Motor Stormer. Motor Stormer was able to win when it was the Ghost not positioned specifically for their team, but can they do it when Nareba is completely focused on them? Scoriox and C4 completely left alone up into the corner. Can anybody challenge them? The big tank, though, the Goliath, just gets completely taken down. Look at the Scorpion on the side of red, just chopping through everybody, as well as the Forest, who's on top of the Sea Forest, just completely shredding on through. Nariba gets absolutely demolished there. Motorstormer has their number and takes care of them, while Alnert on 1 HP. Your top 4 in this Dreamers tournament. Ole, Frodo, Ma, Motorstormer, and Alnert. Low-key a little bit of a heartbreaker here for the OLA squad, considering they had 3 members in this grand final. For only Frodo to be in the top half definitely has to suck a little bit. Granted, Haas kind of got disconnected for one way or another. So, that is what it is there. Nariba very, very close, but ended up getting 5th here in this instance. Now, I can't imagine anybody going down to the empath trial. But that is a scary team to say the least. All rogues and a fox. Just diving on through. Now here's the awkward part. With so many people within kill shot, we could very well have our final round with 4 people still in the game. And we are going to see, this one is probably the one, I don't know what to choose between the 2 of these. This is actually so close. So Motorstorm and Alner, one of them's knocking each other out for sure. But does somebody get knocked out from Frodo versus Ma? I'm not 100% sure, but I know for sure that somebody's getting knocked out right here, right now. So we're going to take our chances. We're going to go along here with Alnert as well. Nope, never mind, I lied. We're going to the top. Choices, choices, choices. But here we go. 7 rogues versus 5 empaths. And a heck of a lot of healing and a heck of a lot of sustain. Ram fight right in the sweet spot, and there's no justifying this one. Tears on through half the health bars. They can heal through this though. They can hang on by a thread. Does another one come on through? Does not get the second one either. They're going to be able to out-sustain even through the ramp fight ultimates. And they're going to be able to burn it down. Frodo from 1st to 4th. Now on the other side, Motorstormer versus Alnert. It is going to be Motorstormer, so this is it. Your grand final round. I think both of these players are within kill shot. Heck, even the damn roulette wheel is nervous at this point, given how exciting and close this is. It is a last round scenario. Motorstormer wins. I believe it does do more than 17 damage. And without question, if Motorstormer does end up dropping here, that is going to be the end of this one. Does manage to pick out the Alfie, so maybe looking for a little extra firepower. And oh god, okay, I have no control out of my camera. I can switch sides, but I can't switch the angle, so screw this, I guess this is the angle we're running then. Because this, of course, is your grand final. It's the sustain coming out from Ma with that nature wildfire style compared to the heavy hitters, frontline brawlers coming out here from Motorstormer. Let's have it. Your grand finals, it relies on this one. Ma or Motorstormer, let's go. Oh god, of course it was the round after the roulette wheel. One second. Even the game's laughing at me at this point here, but okay, here we go. Now we're into the swing of things. Some decent sustain. That Grocko got extremely low. It's hanging on. The Gnarl is going to end up falling, so the first big body going down on the side of Ma. Riley does end up going down as well. Now they're on the Blotto. These blinds are being rather nuisancey, though. The Scorpion was stuck. It was stuck that entire time. Over the last couple of seconds, it could not swing. There might just be too much healing now here for Motorstormer to have to get on through. And sure enough, Time's gonna run out. And Ma is your winner here in the Dreamers Esports DayDream tournament for Illuvium Arena. Big congratulations to Ma for the victory, considering how crazy that ending ended up being. Unfortunately, a little bit of scuff in regards to visual bugs, but again, I want to give a little bit of leniency here to Illuvium as well. That spectator client literally got released yesterday, and for the most part, it was pretty good. Unfortunate that the camera got locked there for grand finals, and it is a little bit odd that the camera like breaks the round after the carousel, but I'm sure that's two things that I can submit to them and they'll get to work on. But again, big congratulations to Ma for the victory here tonight. That is awesome. Big either USDT or ILV crypto prize going into their favor. And now that we have the spectator mode, tell you what, I'm having a heck of a lot of fun doing this already. Only thing I wish I could do is do this live. However, these tournaments end up happening at like 3 o'clock my time. And I'm sure y'all don't want to be hearing screaming kids while I'm trying to cast. But this was fun nonetheless, and I definitely thank everybody for tuning in. But I think it's time to wind down a little bit before we call it a night. Ugh. 5 minutes. Okay. Oh, now we can calm down, slow things down for a little bit before we call it a night here. But that was definitely fun. For those watching, I hope you had fun as well. I know Illuvium can be a little bit of a visual mess at times with all the things going on. I'll do my best over time as well to explain a little bit better what's going on. I have some ideas in mind of some videos and stuff that I can make, maybe to try and help explain characters' abilities and whatnot. What each creature does and that kind of thing. It just feels good to cast again. But in regards to next week, going into Tuesday, I think the idea... Is it bad that I already forgot? No, Tuesday we're going to actually try and find some hollows for myself in the Illuvium overworld. Like I was saying, I think it was during the second game, but I have a couple of tier 0 Illuvials that I still need to hunt down to try and find a hollow for. And I take the time to try and find that, show you all about the overworld while I'm doing it as well. And I do plan on taking it rather slowly. Like, I know that people can fly around the world like extremely fast and whatnot, but I do want to take in the sights and actually like see the level and see the environment and whatnot. So I'm not gonna do it like super stupid fast. Like, I know it's probably not the most efficient, but personally I like it better that way. If I'm doing everything too efficient, then it just sounds like work. Then come Friday, I'm going to try something here, but with it being my first month of streaming, do a little bit of a progress report sort of style stream. Go over the things that I've learned, what seems to be working, what seems to be not working, and plans for as opposed to next month. It's been an awesome first month, and opportunities do seem to be around the corner. I'm happy that casting is also something that's back on the table as well. But I don't want to make my stream completely about esports. That's the one thing, if anything, I wanted to avoid doing. While esports is something I know, I didn't want it to be everything. So, I'll think about it and see what comes up for the next month. With that being said, it is time to close things down for tonight. Big thank you again to everybody for tuning in. If you have not done so already, I do post highlights and other videos on YouTube, as well as shorts content or short form content on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. So absolutely mean the world if you could either subscribe or follow to the appropriate platforms that you wish to use. But again, nothing is mandatory. I'm just happy you're here. With that being said, I'll see you all on Tuesday at 8:30 then. Thank you all for tuning in.